This video is on question 49 from the 2011 IMAT paper. So in this question, we're told that during a vigorous exercise, a variety of products will be generated in muscle cells. And we're asked which is the correct list of some products, and we're given a list of answers here. So on the left here, I've listed each of the products which are involved in this question, and throughout this video we'll answer whether or not they are produced in this vigorous exercise in muscle cells, and on the right here I'll discuss each product in turn. So let's start with water. So during vigorous exercise, your muscle cells will be respiring a lot to produce ATP, this immediate energy source in your cells. And one of the reactions of the mitochondria which produces a lot of ATP is oxidative phosphorylation, and this occurs on the mitochondrial electron transport chain. Now, at the end of the mitochondrial electron transport chain, oxygen acts as the terminal electron acceptor, and we can write this equation here to describe how oxygen does that. We can see here that oxygen, or half a mole of oxygen, combines with 2 protons and 2 electrons to form a molecule of water. So we can see that water is produced in the mitochondria in these muscle cells during vigorous exercise. So moving on to lactic acid, we're told in the question that the exercise is vigorous, and what this vigorous tells us is that there's some anaerobic respiration going on, respiration which doesn't require oxygen. And anaerobic respiration can occur by 2 pathways, the lactate pathway and the ethanolic pathway, but the ethanolic pathway is done in things such as yeast, which don't have muscle cells. So we're assuming that it's the lactate pathway occurring. So in the lactate pathway, lactate, or lactic acid, they're synonymous, is produced. And this is to allow the reduced NAD produced in glycolysis to be recycled to produce oxidized NAD. So we know that lactic acid is produced in the muscles during vigorous exercise. And next, moving on to heat. So it's key to note that respiration is not 100% efficient. This means that not all of the energy from food is used for ATP synthesis. Therefore, this excess energy, or not excess, sorry, this wasted energy is lost as heat instead. Therefore, heat is produced in the muscle cells during vigorous exercise. Okay, moving on to carbon dioxide. So, is carbon dioxide produced in respiration? Well, yes. Carbon dioxide is produced in a number of decarboxylation steps, and all decarboxylation means is removing carbon dioxide molecule from another molecule. And these decarboxylation steps are found in a number of places in respiration, such as in the link reaction and in the Krebs cycle. So yes, carbon dioxide is produced in the muscles during vigorous exercise. Now moving on to sweat. So, we know that sweat is produced in vigorous exercise, but is it produced by muscle cells? No, sweat is produced by sweat glands, not muscle cells. And so therefore, we can say, no, it's not produced in muscle cells during vigorous exercise. So now on to ATP. ATP is the immediate energy source in cells, and it's produced in respiration. As muscle cells are respiring at such a high rate in respiration during vigorous exercise, they are producing lots of ATP even during vigorous exercise. So yes, ATP is produced by muscle cells during vigorous exercise. Now moving on to oxygen. So, is oxygen produced in your muscle cells during exercise? No, the exact opposite actually. As we previously covered, oxygen acts as the terminal electron acceptor, and so is used up in exercise. Well, at the end of the electron transport chain. And there's evidence that the oxygen gets used up in respiration, and that evidence is anaerobic respiration. Your muscles feeling the lactic acid building up from anaerobic respiration when you're doing vigorous exercise. So no, oxygen is not produced in the muscles during vigorous exercise. So, ethanol. Is that produced by muscle cells? It is produced by yeast via the ethanolic pathway of anaerobic respiration, but it's not produced in muscle cells. So, no, ethanol is not produced. And finally, glycogen. So, what is glycogen? Glycogen is a highly branched polysaccharide, and it is used in particularly muscle cells as a source of glucose for respiration. And so, we have to remember that glycogen is used up by muscle cells during vigorous exercise, not produced. And so the glycogen is not produced in muscle cells during vigorous exercise. And so now, upon looking at our list of answers, we can see that A is the only option in which all of the products are indeed produced in the muscle cells during vigorous exercise. And so our answer is A.